No need to go far and wide. Let Hometown provide. Hometown Trophies and Embroidery in Lena can help turn your ideas into reality. From awards, engraving, and gifts to custom apparel and business accessories, they have you covered. Visit them today or give them a call at 815-369-9185. That's Hometown Trophies Embroidery. Let your vision become their masterpiece.
Welcome to NUIC All Access. As usual, joined by Jay Doyle, I am your host, Kyle Kampmeyer. Today we feature a baseball coach that has Eastland sitting with a 2 seed ahead of the regionals and searching for his 8th regional title. Jay, introduce our guest to us today.
All right, today's guest is Eastland Baseball coach Weston Burkholder, and here's what he has accomplished. Graduated at Eastland in 2001, played football, basketball, and baseball, was all conference in football and baseball, walked on at Western Illinois, and then played baseball at Sauk Valley in Upper Iowa. Started coaching at Eastland in 2006 under Lenny Freidhof. Finished 4th at state as an assistant in 2009. Took over the program in 2010. Placed 2nd in the state in 2011. Has won 7 regional titles, 1 sectional, and 1 super sectional. In his 16th season, he now has a career record of 234, 149, and 1, and elected to the Northwest Illinois Hall of Fame in 2017.
Weston, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, fellas. Excited to be here.
So what was your favorite thing about playing sports in high school, and what's one of your favorite memories or multiple memories from playing in high school?
Oh, I say that playing with all the guys. I mean, we had a tight group of kids back then. We were just coming together with Eastland Pearl City in football. I was a running back and a linebacker. Switched to corner my senior year, so that was tough transitioning back and forth there. Where I was a downhill tackler to a pass coverage guy, so I blew a few coverages because I liked to hit people back then. But basketball, I was more of a role play guy. I was a point guard, defensive, just hustled. That was kind of my MO back then. Then I got to start 4 years at the baseball. That was kind of where I probably excelled the most at. Just kind of built my way. But probably my favorite would have been when I went back to back my sophomore year with my brother, who was on our team up at Galena. So granted, his went farther.
So you were a multi-sport athlete. How did you manage your time in high school, and what did your summer schedules look like? And the reason why I ask this is because we see a lot of multi-sport athletes now, and the schedules look different than what they did about 25 years ago when we were all in high school. What did your stuff look like for yourself?
I'd during the summers, I'd get up and go to work for my father at 7 a.m. till probably about 5, and then we'd do probably team lifts and do some 7-on-7s for football and basketball. There wasn't a whole lot for baseball. Legion was kind of tough to get into if you weren't in Freeport or Lena. I didn't do any Legion ball or any of that stuff, but so mostly the football stuff were the 7-on-7s or the Monday nights that we'd play there. And then we had a basketball league that Tony Dunlap was running back then out of our gym. So it was pretty easy to get to.
Yeah, that's one of the things is, many of us played multiple sports. And then when you go into coaching, I think that's one of the things we can deal with. I think the best in some is understanding that you're picking from the same pool of kids as the other coaches in basketball and in football, that working together, getting on the same page, and that's what I think leads to a lot of successful programs, is working together and being on the same page with the basketball and football coaches, you know what I mean, in the summertime, and managing that rather than trying to make kids pick.
Yeah, I've tried to do a little bit, but it just seems like with baseball and softball being the last sport of the year, kids are kind of tired and they just kind of walk away. So I do more stuff probably leading up with open gyms in the fall and winter than doing a whole lot of summer stuff. Because it seems like football, basketball around our area, they get the month of June and July, and then it doesn't leave a whole lot left there. And a lot of the kids that want to play baseball will go do travel leagues now that we didn't have back then.
No, that's the one thing that has, and that's anything like for us with myself with basketball. I think when you get done with the season, the last thing the players want to do is see you, and the last thing sometimes you want to do is see them. So you get that little bit of break or so with you guys at times up at summer. But, I guarantee when you start the open gyms in, a month before the season after the new year, um, they get going and they get ready for a for you guys another conference run and a regional run.
Yeah, like I said, we get going there. Now we've got, like I say, that was the worst part is I used to go Sunday nights, and now our EAC started putting basketball league, which raises a great amount of money for us. So that ate up that time. They used to be done by 6, and now it's like 9 o'clock. So the gym time is tough. But now they've put another cage in our old gym, so that's going to help a lot.
Yeah, I heard that you guys were adding more stuff to the gym that you guys had there this past winter. When is that taking effect, and when do you normally start your open gyms?
Usually about January, the second week of January. And a lot of times because I like to go to the ABCA conferences the last couple of years, so that's right at that week of January, that first week of January. So it's hard to get going, but usually right after that I get back. It's kind of my kickoff and get going. It gets me excited for the year.
As a coach, do you value the multi-sport athletes, and how do you work around all the schedules that go get put together? I mean, you basically said that June, July, you see a lot of the basketball, football stuff. You haven't really been able to put a lot of stuff together, but do you like having the multi-sport athletes?
Yeah, I can say I think kids get burnt out if they do too much of one thing. I mean, football. I mean, it seems like that is the tough grindness that they can get from that physical sport. The conditioning with basketball up and down the court. I mean, which we saw this year with the late run with the kids. I mean, they came in conditioned. I didn't have to do much there. It was more that I think we were struggling seeing the ball type of deal early there, so we were behind on the bat side of it. But yeah, I mean, you get multi-sport athlete. I mean, you get well-rounded. They get coached by a couple different guys, so I mean, it helps them. It helps leadership in different things because they all take different roles at different sports.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things you see, especially with you guys with the success you've had in football, basketball. When they get to baseball, I think it's easier when you see teams that have success and the names that have had success. You see those same names we're going to talk about later on your baseball team, and that were in the big games, in the regionals and sectionals. And a lot of times when those moments come in the regionals and that, those will be the same kids who have the big hit, make the big catch, and those type of things. They almost live for that moment. And that's one of the cool things you see with the multi-sport athlete kid is and that's one of the things we talk about. It's like, you'd always see the same names coming across, whether it be at Eastland, at Dakota, at Orangeville, at Aquin, all of those area schools. You'd see that at the Lenas. You say that to kids who give that, well, I don't know if I'm going to play whatever. It's like, well, look at the so and so kid. I mean, you hear his name in the spring, fall, and winter. And you try to get that through to kids that it's 4 years, it's short, and take advantage of it.
Yeah, I can say I always try to get kids to move on even after the 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, playing college baseball. I mean, those are probably it was grueling, but I mean, I lived for it. I mean, it was like a job, but you play 54 games there, and you leave on a Thursday to go do a four game set or go down to St. Louis. It was fun traveling. Go down to the spring trips were probably the best. I mean, we went to Arizona when I was at Sauk. We went to Florida when we were at Upper Iowa. But I mean, just those memories of meeting those friends and hanging out for a week long of just summer baseball. type of weather down there in the spring.
So when you went to Florida for Upper Iowa, where'd you guys go?
Fort Myers.
Yeah, that's where we went too. I remember my junior year, so it had been before you got there. We played Upper Iowa down in Florida, so I was curious if that's where you guys went still after that. So
Yeah.
You talk about playing college and baseball. Um, and some kids may be thinking about that. What was the transition like from baseball in high school to college? And what stood out to you the most? And how do you balance that from the high school schedule to the college schedule?
Oh, the schedule was, your class schedule is a lot lighter. When I went to Upper Iowa, we were on quarters, so it actually made it pretty easy. I was only taking 2 classes every 8 weeks, so it was
Mm-hmm.
pretty easy there. It's just you got to have weight room time. You got BPs. You got the biggest difference though I saw between college and that was when I was in high school. I could pull the ball. That's what I pulled and did. I wasn't a big oppo hitter. I wasn't really taught that. I mean, that's the biggest thing I brought back. I think to our program was use the whole field. That's probably where I saw it at when I didn't make it on at Western. Was I thought I hit the heck out of the ball in the cage that day, but I think they were looking for me to go to the opposite field, and I didn't do that. That just wasn't my way of what I did in high school. My hand coordination was fast enough that I pulled everything, and that's where I came back and saw the difference that we needed to change early on when I came back as an assistant and all that. As was working the opposite field. That's actually what's helped us late here. We've really grinded the last 3 weeks of really moving the runner over when we have a chance and hitting the opposite field because we had a lot of guys pulling their head, yanking it out of the foul territory for a long strike and not doing a whole lot. And now they're starting to hit gaps, and it's starting to get fun.
so you jumped on the Eastland staff right out of college, and you were coaching with your former coach in Lenny Freidhof. Was there a position available, or did Lenny just ask you if you wanted to join the staff when you came on?
Lenny and had a good relationship ever since. I mean, he helped me at a young age and different things, and I just loved being around the sport. And I asked if I would be able to help as a volunteer. So I had to go through back then I didn't have the teaching degree, and you had to go through a class and get all that stuff done. So we got that all taken care of, and I just back then, I was single and didn't have any kids, and that time of year was kind of slow in the construction concrete world, so I'd be able to go up and help roads posted and all that. So we weren't doing a whole lot March, April till the end of May. Middle of May started to get picking up, but my father allowed me to do what I loved.
No, that's always the cool part about seeing that playing at Eastland, going away to college, coming back, and then joining the staff, and you've worked your way up. I mean, the first 2 seasons, and reading this, you had 2 regional titles in the first 4 seasons as an assistant, plus a state appearance. Um, you come in. Did you guys see that? Coming in from college, did you see that type of talent on that team? And then also when you took over, you had success. Is that something you brought back from college, and guys could see that, or what did you guys have to work on to get that continued success of state appearances and regional titles?
We had worked at it. Probably the 2007 regional was probably a surprise. There were some good kids on there, but it wasn't the makings of what we had in '09 and 2011. 2010. We ran into the state title in sectionals up at Westmere Christian, where the kid had a right-handed, left-handed throwing 90 mile an hour, plus another kid that add to that. We lost 5-3 in that game there, which and then Lena plays them 4-3 and loses there. I think the state final was played up there because
Hmm.
they went on, I think, the next 3 games and 10 run the fleet out. So, that group of kids from '09 to 2011 was a great group of kids. I mean, they went in basketball in 2010. They went and won basketball and got to fourth place there. So, I mean, that was kind of and that 2011 was a group of 8 senior starters with my assistant Tyler Geed as the other one as a junior. When you got 2 lefties throwing 86, it's pretty good when you got a 1A, 1B. But that group of kids there also played a lot of ball together in the summer under Dale Hartman, which is over at Byron, a Hall of Fame guy that eventually came on and was my assistant then for 4 or 5 years when his sons were coming through. Great mentor for me at that point too. So, I mean, I thank him as he's finishing out his last year over at Byron.
So that's actually leading into that next question. So when you took over the program, you kept Freidhof on staff. You already had what was going to be a Hall of Fame coach in Hartman on staff. You guys win 3 regional titles in those first 4 years, and you get that state runner-up. What was that experience like to have that start right out of the gates?
It's great, but it sets the bar high for the rest of your career. I've been chasing it for the last 10 years. That 2010. That the other story about that is we were going 2 hours over there. We stopped in Byron because Dale had to take batting practice there just to break up the monotony of a 2-hour bus ride over there. I'm getting back on the bus. My wife tells me she's going into labor with my second kid. Yeah, and she's a freshman now on the softball team. So,
So that 2011 run, you guys ran into a Carrollton team in the state championship that featured then a future SIU and MLB player in Sam Coonrod, and you faced his brother Joey Coonrod in that state championship game, who threw 11 strikeouts against you guys in an 8-1 win for Carrollton. And the game before, Sam had pitched and had set a state record for a 12 strikeout performance in that state semifinal game. Were you aware of how good the Coonrod brothers were ahead of playing them in the state title game?
no, I'd say I was more focused on the Goreville team. That first win that we had to win there against them. I didn't really look that far ahead, but yeah, the Coonrod brothers were great. Joey, I mean, his curveball it seemed like that outside corner just grew faster and farther into the left-handed batter's box. But as the game went on, but yeah, they were good, a very good team that year. I give it the Goreville team wasn't real happy, but I mean, we won that game 1-0 off of small ball in the 6th inning, I believe it was. I think our 7, 8, and 9 guys bunted, or one walked and bunted, and then we bunted 3 around, and they couldn't field the ball.
Yeah, that'd be a tough way to lose that one. But that's one of the things that, we see a lot of success, but I think baseball is probably the hardest sport to get to that level and to get to state, honestly, and being an outsider with just the limitations that, when we talk about it, when we talk to any baseball coach with the pitch count and managing that and back to back and in the smaller schools, and not that any of our schools are very small, but it's, and because some other classes higher have that issue, but the pitch count has played such a major role in now trying to get teams that you got to use your ace, because you don't want to not throw a guy and lose a game and keep a guy on the sideline, but you got to be so careful with how many days you have until the next game.
Yeah, back then when we went, there was no pitch count back there in 2011 and when we ran that. So, I mean, you could throw your ace on a Monday and bring him back on a Friday, or I usually brought him back with a more of a bullpen style close out of another game, just to get them their work in for the rest of the week. But I mean, obviously, pitch counts came into effect, and a couple of years later, yeah, I ran to a forfeit game that not paying attention. I used to always, like I said, the starter, it was his game to win. I mean, the kid was throwing good over at Pearl City, and he only had 90 pitches that day because he threw 5 pitches to close out the game before, and takes him down a notch. And then I mean, you watch that, you do that once, you watch it a lot closer.
Yeah, Kyle knows about that.
But
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
right.
only do that once to forfeit a game by pitch counts and all that. So it's on the phone now, and you're writing it on our board and different things. And but yeah, if they didn't have that spreadsheet of who's where what, it would be really tough to keep track of what kid can throw the next day, if all.
Oh yeah, yeah. Werhane caught me on it because he'd been caught on it prior himself, and yeah, it was a day off on my count theory on
He
one
forgot
of my
to add
kids.
he forgot to add it across. He was doing it the
Yeah.
old school way. So
Yeah.
do it on an iPad, Kyle. Get current. Get current.
Oh shoot.
Or just have a guy do it. But yeah, that's what I've always said. I said you can in softball if you have an ace. I mean, you see these softball teams, they got an ace and they can roll with it. You know, basketball, football, volleyball. I mean, there isn't a limited amount you can set to a girl and her kill the ball. But in baseball with the pitch count, you're trying to get there, and then with, like I said, it's hard to have two aces, let alone sometimes three or four. But those are the teams that right now can see that extended success.
Yeah, like I say, you got to have a lot. I can say before you could have one or two, but
Yep.
now I feel you need at least three, if not a fourth, to go some innings for you.
Yeah, the good ones have that like fourth and fifth that just throw strikes and just can get you through a game and be done, and you can save that. But yeah, that's for another day, another complaint. So moving into this year, you saw Forreston exit and go to another NUIC conference, and you had the addition of Morrison. They looked at you guys as the favorites. Uh, as we talked earlier, you guys started a little slow in conference play, but now have bounced back with 10 wins over your last 11 games. You just were given the 2 seed. Did you see that coming in? At the beginning of the year, if you would have said, started slow, been playing hot, regional seedings come out, you got the 2 seed, would you have been happy with that?
I probably would. I mean, I figured, looking at it when it came out there, I figured the one would either be us or Forreston.
Yep.
Possibly I thought Fulton had a chance, possibly, but then the Dom kid hurt his knee in football, so I thought that was gonna hurt their chances a little bit. But it seems like he actually came back. The game we played them, he threw against us for the first time. So he was a little rusty. I think he's gaining some traction down there. So I was kind of actually happy to see him and them go to the other side a little bit. When the things came out on that part. But yeah, I say that's kind of where our 0-7 started. Was I threw our 1-2 to get the head-to-head against Forreston in a 2-1 loss game there. So then we go into Dakota on Saturday with our 5-6 guy. I struggled gave a 7-0 head start there. So came back. Was happy that we came back, but I mean, it would have 6-13, or I think it was 7-13. So we pretty much tied the rest of the game after the first inning there. So I mean,
yeah, and that's one of the things, though. You talk about starting hot. The other team that's in your seeding, the 3 seed Pearl City, they've been one of the hotter teams that you could see down the road. They split with Dakota, split with Lena, who's in the other side of the either the Warren Regional, that they'll see each other. But one of the things we talked about earlier was who was going to come with you guys in Forreston, and we've seen Pearl City now really make a case for itself, and Fulton with the 4 seed. So Fulton and, not overlooking anybody, but Fulton and Forreston got the 1 and 4. You and Pearl City got the 2 and 3, and then everybody else matched up with closest regional. So it makes up for a very good regional for you guys, and a lot of good teams playing good baseball.
Yeah.
So you returned some guys that stood out last year, notably Hunter Miller, Zy Haverland, and Peyton Spears. Tell us about these guys, but tell us about some other guys that have kind of stood out a little bit more for you this year that you may have been looking to step up for you, but have exceeded those expectations, or guys that have just filled in the roles that you needed to help you guys find the success that you're having now.
Oh yeah, I mean BJ Jackson. He was a transfer in as last year from Aquin. With that, we kind of plugged him in at third base because he came in as a catcher. But we had Cole Huber. That was I mean, it was in his third year as a senior last year, so it was hard to replace him where he was already. So we were looking for a place at third. We kind of put him there. He struggled a little bit last year with the new spot, but this year he's really. I mean, he's hitting in the four spot for us. Made some heck of plays over at third base for us as a senior. So he's stepped up a real bit big for me on a corner spot. Like I said, we've had Hunter Miller he's been the conference MVP the last 2 years as a sophomore and a junior. He's just an outstanding player as a shortstop and pitcher for us. Peyton Spears, I mean, is fast out in center field, but I mean, he's a hard thrower. I don't know, pitching wise, I mean, he struggles a little on the pitching philosophy, but he throws hard and has a hard breaking ball. So, I mean, he's not as probably finesse type pitcher as Hunter is, but he'll bring the heat. He throws harder than Hunter, and has a tighter breaking ball probably. But so you kind of get a 1-2 punch there with those guys. Cam Huber, he's our second baseman, shortstop, depending on rotations. But he's pitched well in the third spot for us against Newman, against Warstock. I mean, he's just ate up those extra innings there. And then in the pitching spot, we've had Maddox Spears pitching relief for us, which is Peyton's little brother. He's just a kid that throws strikes, like you were saying, that fourth or fifth guy that just comes in, throws strikes for us, and allows us to play defense behind him on that part.
That sounds like my type of pitching back in the day. It was coach is like, "What do you throw?" And I go, "Well, I throw hard, or then I just try to throw harder." Those are my two. I'm a two-pitch pitcher is what I got. So I didn't have anything else. I just threw as hard as I possibly could each time, and probably why half the time you couldn't feel your arm back in the day when back then baseball was different. You could. Our baseball coach had the cigarette in the dugout and had the bush light hanging up, and it was a different time back then. But
Did Orangeville even have baseball?
oh yeah, we back in the day, and anybody that was around Orangeville just remembered, we had the orange caps, the yellow caps, the blue caps, and the red caps. We'd break into 4 teams, and then you'd take the older kids and you'd have your travel team. But we always had the dads always coached the colored. I shouldn't say the colored teams, but the red, the red caps and that. But the yellow caps had a guy, Ron DeHaven, and they would, and my dad would be in our dugout, and they would be smoking and. You didn't think of anything back then, right? So, yeah, that's when baseball was baseball back in the day, you could say. But you can't do that now.
Yeah.
So,
I say I probably can't leave out my catcher this year, Brody Simons. I mean, he's been working back there pretty hard for me. He's hitting down in that lineup, but he's carried us through a lot of games, hitting hard and all that. So, I mean, yeah, he's been a good surprise there, filling in for Cole Huber from last year replacement.
So as we approach regionals, who are some teams that you're looking at now that the brackets are out that you find to be challengers coming up for a potential regional title, sectional title? I mean, and you can look at the other regionals too.
We'll look at the other. We won't talk your regional, but we had the Amboy, the East Dubuque, and the Warren regional. When the seedings came out, was there anything that caught your eye? Or was there anything like, not who's going to win, but that's going to be a pretty cool matchup in the first or second round?
Like I said, I was talking with, I talked with Ty Hartman. He's a former player now up at Galena. I didn't realize how good they were going to be this year. We took it to them pretty well last year when we played them. But that, I mean, it's a whole new year. He got another year under his belt with building the program up there. So they've kind of surprised me a little bit. But after that, I mean, like you said, they beat Lee Win and Dakota both in head to head and split with East Dubuque. I mean, they made a case kind of like we did down the stretch to get to the two that, I mean, like you said, we've been playing hot 10 of 11 on that part. So they were playing well. Like I say, that's going to be a tough one. I think the Warstock over there, where you got Warstock, you got Lutheran, you got
Mm-hmm.
that one's kind of the surprise that they threw Lutheran in there. But I get, like I said, though, I mean, that's that geographic
Yep.
wild factor that you get. So now you get a team coming out of the Big Northern that plays over there, and you have to
Yeah.
deal with that along with your Dakota and your Lee Wins.
Yeah, that's one of the things when you look at matchups coming up, you got to think that, Coach Nielsen at Warren Stockton, his last run as a coach, I just feel they're going to do something special.
They're always dangerous.
They're always dangerous. They're going to know what the hell's going on. You feel like they're going to do something in round 1 or round 2, right? And then you got Rockford Lutheran coming out of the Big Northern. They're going to face off against Dakota, round 1. That's going to be a really good matchup.
Rematch.
A rematch of that. And then if everything plays out, you got Galena, East Dubuque, the 1 and 4, which would be a great matchup. And, two teams very close to home. So you got to figure that'll be a big matchup. And that's the cool thing. It's, I think, sometimes cooler and less worrisome when you're not on the base. I'm not a baseball coach, so I look from the outside and I see those matchups, and it's like, I think the Milledgeville first round will be a
it's a very intriguing match.
intriguing matchup.
Yeah.
With those two teams. So there's a lot of buildup, and you always see 2 or 3 teams that really get hot right at the right time, and yeah, Pearl City, Milledgeville. I think that'll be a really intriguing matchup for me. But like I said, if numbers face how they do, and it's Eastland versus Pearl City, that'll be a great matchup. And if you look at East Dubuque Galena 1 and 4, that'll be a cool matchup. I think the Lutheran Dakota game is going to be a really great game. It's a 3 and 5. That'll be a cool matchup. And Warren Stockton plays Hebron. They get by there. They're versus Lena. That'll be a cool matchup, right?
Yeah, and then I mean, then you can't forget Forston and Fulton down in the Amboy one there. That's I mean, obviously they're probably Forston being probably picked as the best team in the area right now, playing well, but Fulton's starting to get hot. I think too at the right time. I think I just saw they beat Orion tonight, so there's another win for their belt.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a good win for Fulton, and like you said, having Kramer back in the rotation to go with Dykstra, that adds a 1-2 punch, and obviously Dom's had that experience under his belt. Dykstra, being a junior, got some experience last year, but Dom's been on 2 previous regional championship teams as a key player, and now being a senior provides that senior leadership that you expect. And like you said, it's great to see him back. And obviously, with another week and a half to go before regionals actually kick off, to get some play underneath of his belt, get some bullpen sessions in, things like that, that once the playoffs hit, he's going to be ready to go too.
Yeah, it should be a fun year.
Yeah, I always look for the little things when it comes to those games, when it's the underdog facing the team picked to win. In baseball or softball, you'll see like 2 or 3 things that will lead to an upset, and that is the pitcher doesn't get a 3rd strike call, or a multiple foul tips, or you'll see. What's that?
I said, why do you got to say that? That happened to me up at River Ridge against Ackman a couple years ago. Christian goes throws a no-hitter the rest of the game after that.
Yeah, the second one, in no particular order, I was talking to, I forget what coach we were talking about, and I said, I don't think there's a more frustrating play, and I'm not even a coach, but there's always that drive into like right center. And there's a runner on first or second, and the outfielder has no chance to get the person at home, but they chuck it home and throw it over the cutoff, and the person goes from first to second. And it always starts that like snowball effect of then it's like a pass pitch and they get to third and then they're, it's just always those little things in the big games that change the momentum of it. And that's the things that whenever I go to a game and it's like it's getting tight, you always look for like those little check marks and it's like, oh, we're going to have trouble. Or you can always tell like you have that pitcher that is locked in.
Oh yeah.
And he's locked in and it's like 1, 2, 3, you're like, okay, it's going to be a good day today. It's like one of those things like you got your ace and he has his stuff today. And that's the thing with baseball and or softball that this time of year you got to get going.
Yeah.
And I had no idea about your former thing. I've talked about that, so I was not trying to open a wound there for you, Coach.
No, that was a good team at two back then. I mean, we won with Christians, and like I said, he missed a ball four call. It was ball four. I thought it was strike three, and a couple walks, and then a triple that clears the bases. They scored three that inning, and we out hit them that game, but just couldn't string enough together.
Those games are the worst when you out hit a team tremendously and you lose. Those ones always stand out the most.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on the current seeding process? Do you like it? Do you want to see changes to it? Are you indifferent on it? I mean, you've been around for quite a long time now where you've seen different processes take place. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? What do you want to see changed?
Oh, I mean, I used to like going and talking it over and showing why your team is or why it isn't. And I mean, then you had to vote in front of somebody versus hide behind a computer and type in whatever you want on that part. I mean, I like the speed of it a little bit, but I mean, I mean, sometimes you used to go sit around that table. I mean, back when I think we used to seat a sectional, so that I mean, you'd spread out again. Now you don't have an over heavy one bracket or versus the others. So I wouldn't mind maybe seeding the top 8 across the board and splitting those guys out, 1 versus 8 that way, and then fill in geographically. I mean, it was supposed to save gas, but I can't see where it's saving that much gas on this whole geographic fill it in or whatever. I mean, you get more of a true shakedown of that. I wish it'd actually seed later. I mean, as quick as it is, like this week, I mean, it could have changed the whole seeding process with some of the game matchups going on this, which it might happen next year with the 1 and 2A's getting an extra week to play. So it might be able to get through the conferences and some of those. I wouldn't mind seeing like the subsectionals have to play each other if you're like head to head at least once. That way you don't have that. I didn't play that team, so I don't really know about them. Or I mean, like I said, we didn't play Kirkland. We didn't play. I'm trying to think of there was one other one over that way that we didn't play this year in our regional. So it's like I don't really know much about them besides looking at their records of who they played or who didn't they play on that part. Like I said, like this year we didn't even play East Dubuque or Lena. It'd be teams I wish we would have got on our schedule. It's just like I said, it'd be like you said. I think I listened to you last week talk about where basketball and all that. You guys already at least played once.
Correct.
Where we haven't played some of the teams. I like this week. I mean, we didn't play Pearl City yet. That's the other one. I mean, before that seeding comes out. So I mean, whoever wins Saturday could have got a higher or lower seed.
Right? Yeah.
No, and that's one of the things we talk about. And I liked a couple points you did there. You're in talking with that, I think the conference needs to look at it to where you should have to play the teams in your conference at least once before the regionals come out. We've seen that in softball with what came out. Some of the conference games haven't even been played, and they're the top teams in the conference, haven't even played, and they're seeded. How do you seed based on them not playing? It's just a guess, right? And
Yeah.
it changes so many things, and it changes the outlook of so many things. But I loved your idea too. We've talked about it, seeding the regional at least 1 through 8, and then doing it geographically. At least you get a better barometer of splitting your top teams up and where they're at. I think every coach has come on here and said the same thing. And nothing gets changed if you don't talk about it.
Right.
And you can talk about it all you want, but we need to keep talking about it and pushing it, and then it goes further on and gets changed, because everything has changed, and I think it's changed for the better. It is better than what it maybe was before. We've heard with stuff, but I think if it's gonna stay the same, the conference needs to look in for baseball, softball, like they do other sports. You at least need to play your conference game once. What would be great, like you said, I think if I knew who was in my subsectional, they should be able to do that earlier rather than how late they do. It'd be nice to then I could schedule a couple teams that are in my subsectional later on and say, hey, I got this team, and this team in my subsectional this year. I need to play them. Otherwise, they're voted on not playing you or seeing you. So I agree with that too.
Which, like I said, adding that week should help us on conference play next year
Yep.
a lot. But I do like playing Tuesday, Thursday, the way the conference does set it up now.
Yep.
Because back in the day, I could always throw my ace against the top team in conference both times.
Yep.
So, now it takes a little more strategy if you want to go ones versus ones or one versus twos, or it takes a little bit of more strategy and more like college and MLB style managing has to take place.
And that is the benefit of playing that same team Tuesday and Thursday. So if they push it back a week and you get to play at least then it's just really tough when you see teams who haven't played and then you got to seed against each other.
Oh, and like you were saying, Weston, there's no reason why in the current process of things
Yep.
that we can't do the seeding next week when we're in the last week of the season with how fast everything comes in, goes back
They can
out.
do it. Yeah, they can do it in a day.
Yeah.
So, and they could probably do it quicker if they wanted to.
Oh,
Yeah.
they could have. We could have seen brackets yesterday.
Right.
We got seedings yesterday. They could have had brackets done yesterday too.
Right. So, yeah. I think all coaches have been in agreement of everything that you had said and other coaches have said and we've said, and you see the improvement, but we can always improve.
Yep. Well, Weston, we appreciate you coming on tonight, taking some time out of a busy schedule, and obviously the playoff push is right in front of us. Couple conference games left and some other games coming up for you on schedule. You probably got 4 games remaining, I think.
What do we got? We got 1, 2, 3. We just added a Bureau Valley, so we got 5 now.
Oh, that's right. I did post that earlier today. Well, Scott was right on top of that one. So, yeah, 5 games left for you. Obviously, like you said, you guys are playing hot right now. Playing more to the level that me and Jay thought that you guys would
Yep.
be at, especially this time of year, and that's always the important thing. You talk to any coach, they want to be playing better at the end of the year than they are at the beginning of the year anyway. Looking at the 2 seed and where you stand in regionals, you guys got yourselves set up for what could be a good run for your Cougar squad, and we wish you guys the best of luck moving forward here.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Well, thank you and good luck.
Transform your outdoors with Baber Service Company. Landscape design and construction, including retaining walls and patios, mulch and rock beds, seasonal cleanups, and so much more. Serving Joe Davies, Carroll, Stevenson, Winnebago, Whiteside, Ogle, and Lee counties. Enhance your outdoor space with expert craftsmanship and attention to detail. Contact Baber Service Company today at 815-291-6334.
Well, Jay, we just got done talking with Eastland head coach Weston Burkholder, and he's coming in here. Regional seedings came out yesterday. The brackets came out today. He's got the 2 seed. Pretty happy and excited with where he stands. They're obviously the host of their own regional before they head to what would be Lena Winslow for the sectional if they can get that far. But taking a look at what he has in front of them, they're going to play the winner of Polo West Carroll. Polo obviously is the higher seed and in their division. They've swept them in their series this year. And then on the other side of that is Pearl City and Milledgeville. Milledgeville obviously opened up the conference series against Eastland this year and got the series sweep from Eastland. So kind of interesting, man.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing you can talk when I think of Eastland this year, it wasn't a normal start to the year with their long basketball run, which was a good thing, but it always affects the next sport, whether you see that with football, with Lena, with basketball, of them playing their best basketball. What do we always say with Lena boys? Come Christmas time after is when they start playing their best basketball. This year with Eastland with baseball, they had that slow start, but like the saying says, it's not a race, it's a marathon. They started hitting their stride. They still got the 2 seed. They're still got the easier way with the higher ranking to a regional championship. So yes, it may have hurt them in the conference title race, but I think if we would have said beginning of the year, hey, you got a 2 seed in Lanark Eastland hosting a regional, they would have taken it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like you said, when you take a look at what they were going up against, you got Forreston in the Amboy Regional. Clearly the favorite coming in all season long with the amount of returners that they had off of a team that lost in the sectional championship a season ago. And they've played that way. I think they were 21-4 going into seedings on top of that. And really their biggest losses of the year were a split with Dakota and a split with Lena Winslow in conference play. And here they are playing Pearl City this week with the conference title on the line. And they're going to complete that conference championship, their first one in the NUIC North, if they get by Pearl City tomorrow, which they are the favorite to do.
Yeah, that's the big thing with, you look at that, how that regional site subsectional played out. Forreston, who everyone thought, and we thought at the beginning of the year, was possibly on paper the best baseball team in the area. They played like it all year. They earned the 1 seed. They got to finish their challenge, and that's winning a conference title. I know that's in the conference they're in. If they win a conference title, that's a huge check mark for them, because with the likes of Forreston, Dakota, Lena, Pearl City, that's one heck of a conference accomplishment to win in that. And then earning that 1 seed, they have the easier way to get to that Amboy regional. And then whoever is successful on that side plays the lower seed from the other subsectional, which puts you in a better position to get where you want to be. You got to have some luck. You got to have some good pitching. You got to make the right plays and have the right hits at the right time. But, you're seeing some of these teams play their better baseball towards the end of the year, and they're surprising people. I think, in the last week and a half, Pearl City at the beginning of the year wasn't a team that people said a lot of stuff for. It was all about Dakota and Lena and all that, and then they go and split with them, and they're looking at the conference championship with Forreston. Who knows what can happen? I mean, everybody left Pearl City out of the conversation except Pearl City. So big shout out to them. They played great baseball, and a huge credit to them, because that's one of the cooler times you ever see. I mean, the boring pick is the same pick all the time, but to see what Pearl City did is a credit to the coaching staff and their kids.
Exactly, and just the overall development that Pearl City has had has just been tremendous, obviously, because they themselves knew what they had coming in. They knew that they had to work on some things, and basically left it to hey, let's go see what we can do, and they're doing it. And like you said, it's fun to see, and the underdogs are always the fun ones to cheer for at the same time.
Yeah, it is, and the cool part about it, I think it's like, okay, so you upset. I forget which one was first, Lena first or Dakota.
It was Dakota first.
Dakota first, okay. Then it's like, okay, well they split with them, fine. They ain't gonna do anything against Lena. Then they split with Lena. So I think the consensus then is, okay, well Forreston's coming to town, and you always see it. Sometimes it's like, okay, they're a confident team, and they're playing, like I said, they're playing good baseball at the right time. Same with um, Eastland that we just talked about. But there's a lot of very interesting matchups that you can talk about here. That we see looking at it, that could transpire.
Well, looking at that Amboy Regional in that 4 or 5 spot, you got Fulton and AFC, and AFC has been a streaky team.
Beginning of the year, they were
hot. Started hot, they cooled off. They're starting to get back into that level of play, and they got some guys that can definitely help carry them. Fulton, a team that is a 4 seed, 3-time defending regional champion, sitting right there, now starting to get healthy. Like Weston said earlier, you got Dom Kramer back
pitching
in the mix, which is a huge staple to their pitching regiment. When you put him with the junior Chase Dykstra, that gives them a formidable 1-2 punch, which is huge. Like you keep stating the last couple weeks, with pitch counts being a huge variable, having a 1-2 that are top 1-2, or like Weston said earlier, 1A, 1B. That's what Fulton's going to have here as we start to break into the playoffs.
So yeah, let's do hypotheticals. Let's say, and I'm only saying higher seeds because higher seeds are picked to win. So let's just say the higher seed wins and Fulton gets through the AFC game with only using maybe a Dykstra. And then you have Dom coming in as a senior, right?
Yeah.
Pitched in big games. There's no bigger game than a regional championship against the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
That is get your popcorn ready, because that's something to where, you play football, you play those sports, you're a competitor.
Yeah.
That first inning, those first couple batters, you're going to know what type of day it's going to be, and all the pressure's on Forreston. So that could play out to a big one. But like you said, AFC was that team we kept talking about early, like, hey, look at AFC. Hey, look at AFC. And yeah, they cooled some, but they got to where they're at, right? So they have a quality team. They got to get past the Fulton team who's ranked ahead of them. So that'll be an interesting matchup.
Yep. Moving into the Warren Regional, that 3-5 seed, like you said, the Dakota Lutheran matchup is huge. Rematch from last year. Lutheran won that game 4-3 over Dakota, allowing them to advance into the regional championship, where they eventually lost to Lena Winslow. It's almost like deja vu here. You got the 2 seed in Lena Winslow again, the 3 seed in Dakota, and the 5 seed in Lutheran, and all the cards are laying out. And then, like you said earlier on the show, you got Coach Nielsen in his 45th season, a Warren Stockton team there that can be a wild card and always play up in big game moments.
Yeah, a coach who's been there, a coach who knows how to coach, X amount of years. You just see something special coming out of that. You don't see a one and done out of there. So you see them winning that first game. And then, again, all the pressure on Lena. Who are they going to throw? Are they going to throw their ace in that game, where they may not have him ready for the Saturday matchup, depending upon what happens? And if you don't, that's the cool thing about baseball. You don't throw your ace in that, and that game gets away from you. Everyone's questioning you. Why didn't you throw the ace? Because you don't get to Saturday's game without winning Wednesday's game, right? And that's going to be the question at Dakota. Who are they going to throw in that matchup, right? Who are they going to throw in that matchup with Lutheran, who has nothing to lose?
Yeah.
And plays in the Big Northern. We've seen that story. I've seen that story too many times, that they're going to come over with a lot of confidence, right? They're going to come over with a lot of confidence. So are they going to pitch their ace in Dakota, to where if you come out, you're not going to have your ace for a championship game? Those are the things this time of year that coaching is key. That's why a lot of times you see the same teams win it, and the same teams do it because certain coaches know how to push the right buttons and play the right card. You see that in baseball. You see that in softball. This time of year, baseball is a very strategic game to where every chess piece matters, and that's going to be a lot of that in the early on games is going to be for what you have for that regional championship.
Yep, 100%. Another interesting one I like is in this East Dubuque one, the 4 and 7 seed East Dubuque and South Beloit. And the reason why I like that is because South Beloit has a sophomore pitcher, Rich Carlson, who hits mid 80s. That is going to be a tough game, I think, for East Dubuque being the higher seed if they throw Carlson, which I would anticipate they will. The question is, again, how long do you go with him? Because do you have enough in the gas tank that if you are to get by East Dubuque, now you're going to most likely have Galena sitting there waiting for you in that regional championship game. And we just had Coach Hartman on last week talking about the opportunities that he has. And on the other side of that, East Dubuque, we had their coach on a couple weeks ago as well, and Brandon Tashner, and they're the reigning regional and sectional champions. So, and they have some experience that's back as well. So, can they do what they need to do against a South Beloit team that will most likely fire off their ace, who is one of the better players in the entire area?
Yeah, the one thing you'll see there is South Beloit having to make that long trip to East Dubuque. But you got the River Ridge Orangeville game. Higher seed, let's say, wins. You got River Ridge versus Galena. River Ridge is always a tough out. I think in baseball, they are always a tough out in baseball.
Yeah, Knauer always does a good job there.
Yep. So you're going to see them compete against Galena. What's Galena going to have to do to get through? Keep their numbers down with pitching, so they have their pitchers ready for that Saturday 11 o'clock game at East Dubuque. For East Dubuque, like you said, big game versus South Beloit. They don't have a play-in game. They just play each other and go. Again, it's the thing with East Dubuque and not knowing how comfortable they are with their 1, 2, 3, and 4 pitchers. You got to get through South Beloit to have that home game. The last thing you want to do is fall in that first game and have to stand there and host the regional championship game while you're not playing.
Right.
So that's the big one down. And like we talked about earlier with the Lanark Eastland regional. The big game in that one, I think, and we talked about, will be the Pearl City Milledgeville game that we already know is going to happen. Milledgeville, as you said earlier, already beat Eastland this year, and they're the 6th seed playing the 3 seed hot team right now, Pearl City.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because, we've talked about Milledgeville and how they got off to a great start in conference play. Mm-hmm. They are starting to hit some ice cold marks here the last week or two. Not where you want to be when you're going into the playoffs, especially against a streaky team that Pearl City is. But Milledgeville still has some guys in there that can definitely make some noise for them. And, I'm sure Coach Caravia will have them ready to go, and that's what makes that game with Pearl City a very intriguing matchup.
Yeah, the one thing you can say as a coach, and you can say, I think, as a player is, well, hell, we beat the team that is the top team in our regional.
Yep.
Right? We beat them already. All we got to do is go out and do it again. So that's an easy thing. You don't have to say like, hey, we got 10 run, we had an off day. No, we beat them. So
that's not once, but twice.
Yeah, not once, but twice. So that's the easy thing to put in the back of your head to bring back out that, hey, we've been there, we've done it. We just got to play good baseball.
Exactly. Looking in Class 2A, we have the Mendota sectionals where we find Dupec and Morrison.
Yep.
Morrison's going to be in the Rock Island Alleman Regional. Pecatonica Dupec is going to be in the Rockford Christian Regional, and they get to play. They're going to be in the Richmond Burton Regional, but they're playing Rockford Christian at Rockford Christian in the play-in game. Obviously, Dupec coming in with the 11 seed. Rockford Christian has some history under their belts. Don't have a whole lot of information on Rockford Christian this year, but obviously they got the 6th seed compared to Dupec's 11 seed. Dupec, in my opinion, is they have some players that can definitely make a game interesting. They've returned some kids. Pitching's been their biggest inconsistency this year, but their pitchers are young. They throw hard, but you got to be able to throw strikes, and if they can do that, this could be a potential upset in the making for the Rivermen. And then Morrison, going to Rock Island, Alleman, Allman's tough, and they've already played some teams up this way. Lena Winslow, and they had somebody else as well. I can't remember who, but Allman is still Allman when it comes to baseball. That will be tough. And then on top of that, you got Sterling Newman, who's been at state each of the last 2 seasons, sitting in that same regional as well.
I'll go with you on those, Kyle.
I've got my fill of Newman. Going to the girls' side,
Yeah.
we got the Dakota sectional, and obviously we got some interesting seeds in there. One of those being in that subsection A, where we thought Orangeville was going to be the 1 seed. Dakota squeaks out the 1 seed. Orangeville coming in with the 2 seed. Dakota gets the Pecatonica regional, whereas now Orangeville has to travel down to AFC for that regional, that being the difference there. But, Dakota is going to play the winner of Rockford Lutheran Alden Hebron. That's kind of really a toss-up. And then they get the winner of Pecatonica South Beloit. All teams that Dakota has cruised by. Really, I mean, you hate to be hard on teams, but looking at this and providing transparency, Dakota is almost the shoe-in to win this Pecatonica regional, without it being much of games.
No, we had talked about how, the other side, when we'll look at that, was a very, we'll say, stronger regional compared to this, and this is not taking away anything from any team, so it's not a knock on anything, but it's almost like you feel it's the girls basketball where Peck went to wherever the hell they went for girls basketball down there, where it was like no teams with winning records, and then at the Orangeville one you had us and Lutheran, and you had that matchup, right? That's what Dakota has right now. They should just be able to play their game, get through there, and march on to their to the sectionals, barring any crazy type of game. They've already beat and played the teams that are in there handily. We had talked about the 1 and 2 seed going back and forth with Orangeville, Dakota. We had Orangeville ahead of Dakota. I'm sure the loss versus Warren Stockton didn't help Orangeville in that case, because that was the day before the seedings and losing that game. Not that did or did not play a case, but both teams are extremely quality teams. So not taking away one from the other. We were just looking at records and head-to-heads against other teams. Again, the reason why what hopefully will be fixed next year will be they don't play until next week.
Right.
So you had no baseline of who's better, right? We'll find out who's better next week.
Yeah.
So, and it should come down for a conference title between those two. And then it will come down to they wouldn't meet till the sectional championship.
Correct.
If both teams would be successful. But on the Orangeville side, they got the 2 seed. They will play the winner of AFC and Kirkland, and then they will play at AFC. I think that the toughest part is having to drive all the way down to AFC.
Yeah.
And then they will play the winner of the Forest and Durand game, which you see Durand should
win that.
Yeah, Forest and not very good right now. Durand should win that game, and then you set up a matchup with the 2 and 3 with Durand and Orangeville, and they split. They split, and tomorrow night Durand will play Dakota, which Dakota beat them the other night. So Durand has been beaten and also has won, and the biggest thing with Durand will be their pitching, and it will come up to Orangeville's young players hitting.
Yes.
It normally comes into that pitching and hitting, right? And that'll be a very good game played down in Ashton.
Yeah, and then this Stockton regional is really that loaded regional that, like you were alluding to before, where we saw it in subsection, And here it is where you have East Dubuque, Lena Winslow, Pearl City, Warren Stockton, and Scales Mountain River Ridge all packed in there in one. And right out of the gates, that play-in game between Scales Mountain, River Ridge, and Warren Stockton, that's a toss-up game in its own right.
Well, Warren Stockton Co-op's been playing some of their best or softball right now,
Yeah.
with multiple wins, and the one just against Orangeville on Monday night. Scales Mound Co-op, they're a young team with young pitching. They've been hot. East Dubuque though sits there as the 1 seed with their with Coach Edler, who was on earlier in the year with their ace pitching. At Stockton, that'll be a good matchup. But the one we talked about was where it could go. That 4, 5, 6. We talked about Lena, Pearl City, and Scales Mound and Stockton. I'm guessing it was probably a close thing. Lena got the 4, Pearl City got the 5. No play-in game for either. They just play each other to go for the Stockton regional championship, and that'll be a good game. Both have been up and down this year. It's going to be who's going to be up and who's going to be down on that day.
Oh, for sure. And then on the bottom half, there you have really the two teams that are standing out are the 2 seed in Galena and the 3 seed in Milledgeville. Both those teams should make it into the Milledgeville Regional Championship without much contest. No offense to the other teams. Again, they've just been the 2 standout teams of that regional all season long.
Mm-hmm. No, they have, and Galena has had a couple hiccups here and there, but Milledgeville has been hot. At times, they've both played very good softball, and it should make for an interesting regional championship weekend.
I mean, Milledgeville's even beat Dakota already this year in a big game earlier in the year. So
correct.
I mean, it's not like they're a traditional 3 seed. There's no doubt about that. In the Allwood sectional, down in the Fulton regional, you find Fulton and Amboy, the only 2 teams not in the NUIC part of the entire playoff bracket, but 2 teams that
they play each other
right out of the gates.
Yeah, you do all the voting and everything, and Fulton's the 2 seed, Amboy's the 7 seed, and they get to play each other. So
yeah, so and then taking a look at Morrison, obviously in 2A, they got the 1 seed in the Princeton Regional, which feeds into the Marion Central Catholic Woodstock Marion sectional. Bella Duncan's been lights out for Morrison on the mound all year long. Taking a look at how this plays out here, they should be able to most likely meet up with Princeton for that Princeton Regional Championship. Morrison would be the favorite against Princeton in that game as well. So we could definitely see Morrison continue to do what Morrison does on a softball diamond, and that's make deep playoff runs.
Yeah, and they got the pitching to back it up, and that's what wins big games in the regionals and sectionals.
Yep. So we got one more round of conference games for baseball, and maybe a straggler or 2 to finish out next week. And softball has a couple conference games left going into next week, as next week is the final week of the regular season. And then we roll right into the playoffs. So we're getting down to that final 3-week stretch, and with the playoffs, like in any sport, they start to heat up, and it becomes a lot of fun and a lot of and real fast on top of that.
Yeah, this is always the best time of year in any sport when you're looking at week 7, 8, 9. Week 8, 9 playoffs for football, right? We all get excited. On the volleyball court, you get excited for that last conference week of who's playing for a conference title. You don't want to start thinking about regionals until you secure that conference title. And you think about that, the same for basketball. Thinking of that, getting to regionals, and the same is for softball and baseball. There's conference titles to be won, like we just talked about with Forreston and Pearl City going to play. The big matchup next week in softball, Dakota versus Orangeville. We've said that for how many years? It goes through those 2 schools for the conference title, and we'll see there. And then everything will be 0-0, and we'll be playing for regional titles.
Yeah, and the way that all these brackets shape out definitely leads to a high probability that we talked about right from the get-go of the start of the season of seeing an NUIC team make it to super sectionals. So that's the exciting part. We definitely have great probability to see a team go deep based off of how the seedings broke out. And there's going to be a lot of fun here over the next 4 weeks.
No, and that's the thing we always root for is NUIC team to make it to a super sectional, make it to state. And there's no better time this year, and with how everything is set up, conference wise and regional wise, that should be that should come to plan here in the next couple weeks.
So a lot of big games coming up. Obviously, like we said, playoff brackets are out. Playoffs start the week of May 19th. Get out to those games, root for your teams. Always root for the NUIC.